Hello everyone, welcome to CNA, the daily newspaper analysis. So today we'll having the following topics to discuss. So let's start. The first start news is going with Mikhail Gorbachev. So Mikhail Gorbachev, who was the last leader of the United USSR, he was the young and dynamic Soviet leader who wanted to reform communist regime on the lines of democratic principles. So therefore, he recently died. Okay, so he was around 91 years of age. Okay, so he was the last leader of the socialist Russia, okay, or the Soviet Russia that we can see at some point of time until 1991 when it was directly broken down after the post-Cold War. So he was the last leader of the United USSR, which directly says about going in for various number of democratic principles. So he took various number of measures at that point of time which directly recognize his respective policies under the basics of glasnost. Okay, glasnost uske language mein glasnost bolte hain, hum log bolte hain usko freedom of speech. And he obviously went on for some of these economic reforms which were called as perestroika or restructuring, as the Soviet economy was suffering from both hidden inflation as well as some form of the supply shortages. So radical reforms were launched to reduce poverty control or party control over the government. And this control was very much cultural, and freedom to press was granted in his regime. And many political prisoners were directly released during his rule. So therefore, we could see that he was accredited with the success of the nuclear disarmament agreement with USA, which won him the Nobel Peace Prize. So though this man was directly an important personality in the whole history of Russia, he was very much critically, he was very much criticized because of some number of conditions, such as, if I say about his policy of glasnost, that is the freedom of speech, it resulted into the open criticism of the government that directly contributes to the disintegration of the USSR. Also, the economic reforms did not have immediate results, which led to increase in frustration among the masses. Economic reforms matlab kaun sa? That is the restructuring of the Soviet economy, that is the perestroika. Okay. Also, by his reforms, he had weakened the centralized authority and ability to control the region. And the collapse of USSR cannot be wholly attributed to Gorbachev, though he has been criticized, but I cannot say that the whole collapse of USSR is only attributed to this man, as it was very much inevitable sooner or later because of the economic stagnation and people's dissatisfaction in this respective country. And in the broader view, if I say, Gorbachev provided the platform for Russia to reform its economy and even the political system. Okay, so if I say about some of the relation of Gorbachev with the country of India, today I can directly recall Rajiv Gandhi hailing Mikhail Gorbachev as the crusader of peace. Okay, so here I can directly say that during the time when Mikhail Gorbachev was there, so the relations between Mikhail Gorbachev as well as the international relations of Russia with the other countries, because we could see that between the period of 1988 to around 1989, Gorbachev pulled the Red Army out of Afghanistan. And during his reign, only the Soviet Union was formally dissolved. So today, if I say about the relations between India and Russia during the time of Mikhail Gorbachev, between 1985 to 1989, both countries found enough common ground to mark a high point on these relations. Even these mutual visits, ऐसा नहीं है कि Gorbachev कभी इंडिया आया नहीं. Gorbachev visited India twice, around 1986 as well as in 1988. And similarly, Rajiv Gandhi also visited Russia, and India was Gorbachev's first visit to a non-Warsaw Pact country after taking over a leader of the Soviet Union. And at that point of time, we went for various number of defense relations. Arms sales. Also, the USSR directly supplied some of the sophisticated hardwares. India also took a military delegations to Moscow for defense shopping and came back with several agreements, which facilitated India to test nuclear devices successfully in 1998. And Russia, under the precedent of Vladimir Putin, did not censure it or impose any sanctions in India after this respective test. So therefore, though we can see that during Gorbachev visits, he said the objective was to extend his disarmament initiatives in Europe to Asia and to secure Indian cooperation in these tasks. So Rajiv hailed Gorbachev as a crusader of peace because he was very much in the thing of disarming every nuclear power that any country directly retains, that is directly from Europe towards Asia. Okay, and also he wants to secure more and more cooperation with a country like India, and thereby we can see our ex-prime minister directly saying about him to be the crusader of peace. So though we can see that the festival of India in Soviet Union that was held during the time of 1987 was the centerpiece of cultural exchange also, and this made a signal to India and the world that India is a very special friend of Russia. Okay, so the collapse of the collapse of the Soviet Union saw India reset its foreign policy and helped by the liberalization of the economy, where Russia can integrate various number of its respective economic activities in a country like India. So therefore, even at this respective depth, this man has got a great contribution towards the countries or towards our country's economy, towards our country's respective defense equipments, and every respective help that we want from Russia at that instant of time. Okay, so this was about late Mikhail Gorbachev. Coming to the next one, Bhanga, Ganja, and criminality in the NDPS Act. Okay, so when I say about this NDPS Act, so I can directly say about that in this NDPS Act, which is directly saying about the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act of 1985. तो ये न्यूज किस लिए न्यूज में है? See, recently the Karnataka High Court, okay, observed that nowhere in this NDPS Act is bhang referred to as prohibited drink or prohibited drug. Okay, so therefore, if I say about the bhang क्या होता है? Bhang is the edible preparation made from the leaves of the cannabis plant, often incorporated into drinks such as thandai or lassi, and is frequently consumed during the festivals of Holi as well as Mahashivratri. So this NDPS Act, which was enacted back during the time period of 1985, it is the main legislation that deals with drugs and their respective trafficking. So various provisions of the Act punish production, manufacturing, sale, possession, consumption, purchase, transport, and use of these banned drugs, except for some of the medical as well as scientific purposes. So the NDPS Act defines cannabis. Cannabis को हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं? Hemp भी बोलते हैं. Okay, so this cannabis as a necrotic drug based on the parts of the plant that comes under its purview. तो इस cannabis का बहुत तरह का definitions है, बहुत तरह का we can see some of the respective things associated with this cannabis. Okay, is the thing which is known as charas. Okay, charas भी एक चीज है. Charas क्या होता है? The separated resin in whatever form obtained from the cannabis plant, including the concentrated preparation and this resin. तो मान लो चरस सेपरेटेड रेजिन है, RESIN. गांजा क्या है? तो फिर the flowering or the fruiting tops of the cannabis is known as ganja. Okay, so therefore we can see that bhang which is made with the leaves of this plant is not mentioned in this NDPS Act. Okay, and the Act states that the government may allow the cultivation of any cannabis plant for industrial purposes only of obtaining fiber or seed for horticultural purposes. So now if I say about that, what is the criminal liability for cannabis cultivation? So यहाँ पे बोला गया है कि that prescribed punishment is based on the amount of drugs seized. Okay, supposedly if it is on smaller quantity, supposedly it involves 1 kg of ganja, it will result in rigorous imprisonment that may extend up to 1 year. Okay, with a respective fine. 10,000 का कुछ फाइन लगता है. अगर कमर्शियल क्वांटिटी में पैदा हुआ है तो supposedly if this goes with around 20 kg of ganja, then it also improves rigorous imprisonment from 10 to 20 years. Also, if it is directly intermediate, the contravention that involves quantity less than commercial but greater than small quantity, rigorous imprisonment up to 10 years is prescribed, and a fine which may extend up to 1 lakh rupees. So today, if I see about a report that is directly done by the National Drug Dependent Treatment Center under AIMS, okay, in 2019, it was very much noted that around 7.2 million people is directly addicted towards cannabis. Okay, तो अभी यहाँ पे बोला गया है कि this bhang, ganja and criminality in this NDPS Act is a very necessity because of the because of the increasing number of people directly getting addicted towards such number of activities. So under this act, it is very much offensive to finance certain illicit activities such as cultivation of cannabis, manufacturing, narcotic, and harboring person engaged. Okay, so therefore you can see all such number of activities associated with this NDPS. Okay, तो next पे आते हैं US life expectancy. तो इसमें क्या हो रहा है? US is directly showing a dip in their life expectancy post COVID. COVID में बहुत ज्यादा हो गया था, अभी तो और ज्यादा हो रहा है. Okay, so therefore यहाँ पे बोला गया है कि like here in the respective country of US, the life expectancy at birth fell to around 76.1 years, and it has been lowest in the US since 1996 and the biggest 2-year decline in a century. Okay, so therefore, the COVID-19 was though is a driving factor with deaths from the virus contributing to half of the decline from 2020 to 2021. And according to a report of their respective health statistics, it directly became half within a period of 1 year. So today we could see that the death rate from the COVID-19 was higher. So it was not particularly surprising that life expectancy would fall again. But because we can also see that drug overdose deaths results a record of high in 2021, killing around 1,09,000 people. And deaths from unintentional injuries, about half of which due to drugs overdose, was the second leading cause of the decline in life expectancy. So therefore, it is very much distressing to see a continuing negative impact of drug overdose on the life expectancy of Americans. And these deaths often occur in young adults and therefore represent a tragically high number of years of life lost and devastating impact on individuals, families, and communities. Okay, so therefore, we can see that today the mortality generally mainly since the 1950s has changed rather slowly, and these changes of more than a few tenths of a year have been considered very much substantially in a period post COVID-19. So you can see about the values over here. You can directly compare the values. Okay, so in 2009, Americans could expect to live on an average 79. Within a period of 2 years, the life expectancy directly decreased to around 76. Okay, so the cumulative decline since the pandemic started, more than 6.5 years on average, has brought life expectancy to 65 among Native Americans and Alaskan natives on par with the figure for all Americans in 1944. तो इन लोग का अभी यहाँ पे बहुत ज्यादा सेटबैक हो रहा है किस चीज का, बिकॉज द पॉपुलेशन इज डायरेक्टली डिपिंग डाउन, द लाइफ एक्सपेक्टेंसी इज डायरेक्टली डिपिंग डाउन, एंड जब लाइफ एक्सपेक्टेंसी डीप होता है तब क्या होता है, ओवरऑल इट डायरेक्टली अफेक्ट्स द इकोनॉमी, बिकॉज हु विल टेक द इकोनॉमिकल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ द इकोनॉमिकल ग्रोथ, कोई नहीं ले सकता यहाँ पे. तो देयरफॉर डिपिंग इज अ मेजर वरी फॉर अ कंट्री लाइक यूएस. ओके, सो नेक्स्ट पे आते हैं, इन्फ्लेशन इन यूरो कंट्रीज. So today we can see that the inflation is directly slowly and slowly is directly going in a better half. Okay, because today we can see that the annual inflation in the countries which is directly using the euro, okay, it is directly fueled by the soaring energy prices mainly driven by Russia's war in Ukraine. Okay, चलो ये और ये वाला, that is Russia and European energy crisis, ये दोनों का रिलेशन है, मैं एक साथ ही बता देता हूँ. Okay, Russia and European energy crisis और ये inflation in euro countries. So see, you can see that inflation today are at the highest level since record keeping for the euro began in 1997. 1997 से आज record में है, because today it directly rose to around 9.1%. That is up from around 8.9% in July. July में बस 8.9% ही था. So it directly rose to 9.1% today. Okay, so this is directly because to the Russia's war in some of the Ukraine grinds on, and this triggered unprecedented increases for energy and food that are squeezing some number of household finances. So today, if I see about inflation in Britain, inflation in Denmark, inflation in Norway, which is directly using euro, okay, is also, sorry, not these countries, I'm telling about some of the other countries which have their own currencies, they are also surging. And inflation is also high in countries like US. So today, if I say that in the Eurozone, energy price directly surged up around 38.3%. इतना परसेंट एनर्जी क्या हो रहा है, राइज हो रहा है, प्राइसेस राइज हो रहा है. So therefore, we can see that Russia, being a major energy producer, has been reducing the flow of gas to European countries that have directly sided with Ukraine in the war. And that move wreaked the havoc with the respective prices. At the same time, we can see that nearly half of the Europe has been afflicted by an unprecedented drought. मैंने during some of the last analysis I have directly discussed about Europe's drought, which is directly hurting the farm economies, directly crimping the production of staple crops like corn, and whereby it directly drives the increase in the food prices. Okay, so this all things, even if I say about some number of shortage of natural gas for Europe, because today we can see that the very area which is European Union, that is about 47% of the full capacity as compared to the normal stockpile of 60%. तो यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है कि they are directly keeping less and less number of even natural gases, because today we know that in Europe the natural gas is the most important source of energy, and gas demand is stronger each winter owing to its role in domestic heating. Gas is selling on European commodity markets for 10 times the price, and the average European household faces electricity and gas bills of around pound sterling around 1850, okay, which is directly up till today, okay, in 2022. तो वो 2020 में कितना था, अराउंड पाउंड स्टर्लिंग it was around 1200, but today it was around 2100. सोच सकते हो तुम। तो कहीं पे अगर मान लो किसी चीज का यहाँ पे अगर हम लोग का गैस का दाम अभी 1200 था, कल परसों अगर 2100 हो गई, तो ऑब्वियसली इट विल डायरेक्टली अफेक्ट अस. And the transition to cleaner energy such as wind and solar has the effect of pushing up demand for gas. But we can see that you cannot directly in a period of time can directly rely on such number of solar energy or such number of wind energy. So Europe dependent on imported gas and Russia supplying around 40% of more for those imports. So अगर मैं आज नेचुरल गैस का बात बोलूं, तो what is this natural gas? It's a mixture of gases which are rich in hydrocarbons, be it methane, which makes up around 70 to 90% of natural gas. So natural gas reserves are deep inside the earth, nearly other solid and liquid hydrocarbons like crude oil as well as coal. And if I say about the LNG, it's the natural gas that is cooled down to liquid form and shrunk to around 1/600 of its original volume. So today, Europe is directly in this respective crisis, because we can see that the cold winter that drained gas reserves in a very rapid manner in these respective areas. Earthquakes in Netherlands is also one very another factor. The hot weather drained more number of gas. Less wind mean what? Less renewable electricity. So in every circumstances, today the Europe is directly making, or Europe is directly is going up with a less amount of natural gases directly coming in from Russia. Okay, so therefore we need to directly and therefore there is a respective result of getting a good inflation with the respective countries of the European Union, who is directly going with such number of things associated with the euro currencies. So today if I see about the effects, agar main iska effects agar India ko hi dekh lu, to help the ease the demand for a gas to heat and power homes and businesses, we can see that we have got some of the other options. Okay, so because the sudden rise in global coal prices came as a boon for domestic suppliers such as Coal India, because we know that as the supply directly crunch in the key overseas market grew and prices soared, the demand for coal from domestic sources climbed, and Coal India and other producers increase output, yet supply remains quite tight, because we know that over 70% of the India's power is directly generated from the burning of the coal. Okay, so therefore we have to go with such number of things associated so that we could directly provide a good amount of natural gas to these respective nations directly from Russia. And इसके लिए ये जो रशिया और यूरोप दिस यूक्रेन के बीच में जो लड़ाई हो रहा है, इसको हम लोग को रोकना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि एक बार इसको हम लोग रोक दे, then we could directly make a better use of such number of conditions. Okay, तो ये दोनों था especially with the Russian hit economy. Okay, इसके बाद आते हैं पावर एंड इट्स डिसकंटेंट्स. यहाँ पे जनरली हम लोग का बात बोला गया है अबाउट दिस रिसेंटली इलेक्ट्रिसिटी अमेंडमेंट बिल जो हम लोग ने लाया था अराउंड 2022 और अराउंड दिस अगस्त मंथ ऑफ 2022. तो यहाँ पे क्या हो गया कि the Electricity Amendment Bill of 2022, it aims at giving the multiple players open access to distribution network of power suppliers and also allowing the consumers to choose any service provider. Okay, so this bill directly seeks to amend the Electricity Act of 2003. तो यहाँ पे ये क्या अमेंड करना चाहता है? They wants to facilitate the use of distribution network, जैसे मैंने बोला. Also, it directly wants to facilitate the non-discriminatory open access to the distribution network. Also, to make provision vis-a-vis graded revision in tariff. Also, to convert the rate of punishment from imprisonment or fine to fine. Also, to strengthen functions that will be charged by the regulators. So today we can see about the provisions of the bill. Okay, so the biggest fear is that the license to DISCOM will be deemed to have been granted in the state electricity regulatory, does not take any action within the stipulated time. And the bill has a provision to empowering the center to give direction directly into the state electricity regulatory commission. Okay, so therefore, the state electricity regulatory commission will now be a what? Nominee of the central government and will be an additional secretary level official. तो यहाँ पे क्या है, वी नो अबाउट द थिंग विच इज नोन एज इलेक्ट्रिसिटी. ये किसके अंदर आता है? इट डायरेक्टली कम्स अंडर अ रेस्पेक्टिव स्टेट. ओके, तो यहाँ पे डायरेक्टली गवर्नमेंट अभी क्या कर रहा है? इट्स डायरेक्टली द सेंटर इज डायरेक्टली प्रोवाइडिंग such number of legislations towards the respective area of the electricity. And once it is directly coming under the things, we can see that, sorry, I am telling about it's directly not coming under the state subject, it's coming under the concurrent subject. ओके, ये कंकरेंट सब्जेक्ट में आता है, जहां पे गवर्नमेंट, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का दोनों का पावर्स होता है. लेकिन अगर मान लो कुछ कंफ्लिक्ट हो गया बिटवीन सेंटर एंड द स्टेट, ओके, देन ऑब्वियसली द सेंटर्स पावर विल डायरेक्टली प्रिवेल. Okay, so therefore we can see with the federal structure today we could see that every respective areas associated with the distribution is the role of the respective state. Okay, so therefore even we can see that when such number of things will directly come into prominence, so यहाँ पे सेंटर का रोल किस में बढ़ जाएगा? In the respective area of even supplying electricity to this respective statehood people. ठीक है, तो therefore the government is directly coming up with such number of bill so that we can see that the provisions related to the respective bill, okay, and its respective implementation should not directly boycott the intervention of the respective state in its perspective. तो यही बोला गया है अबाउट द पावर एंड इट्स कंटेंट. कल परसों अगर सेंटर के हाथ में चला गया तो ये कितना मुश्किलात कर सकते हैं. Okay, also there is a need of regularization of these private players should be brought to avoid even some of the differential distribution. Also, the provision related to the subsidies should be put up in an elaborate manner to eliminate any scope of confusion or any form of conflict. Okay, तो ये था about the discussion of power and its discontents. Okay, so ये आप लोग के लिए 5 questions है, तो you can directly attempt these questions. You can directly get the answers in the Telegram channel of yours. So thank you for today. Have a nice day. Jai Hind.